going live today. We're live on Instagram and live on Facebook and YouTube. We're coming on as well on Instagram. So like and share this feed. Everybody like and share this feed. I have a super dope guest on the live today. Uh and wait for it to come in now. So we're logging in.
Okay.
So like and share this feed. Everybody
Okay.
like and share this.
Turn this down.
All right, we're logging in, guys. So like and share this
Request to
feed, guys.
join.
Saucy Sangria, check your text message, by the way. What up, fam? I sent the clients your way. I sent the clients,
Okay.
so you should get it. All right, guys, we're going live. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, and we're going live on Instagram. It is a great day. I hope I was having a super dope day for Labor Day. Now my screen not working. Okay, here it goes. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, we're live, guys. Like and share this feed, everybody. There you go, fam.
Hey,
What is up?
I am well. I'm well. I'm happy. Like I got the two screen situation going on. I feel fancy
Yeah.
right now.
It's so funny because I started doing the two screens. I'm like, yo, you got to reach people in another way because you have the Facebook followers, you have the YouTube, and you have the Instagram, but no app does everything. So we got to have multiple screens out here. Got to have multiple
Yes,
screens.
and especially
All
this
right.
day and age, keeping up with technology.
Yes, and you are the queen of keeping up with technology and systems. So, first of all, everybody, what's up? My name is Chef Jay because I'm on her platform too, sharing some following today. My name is Chef Jay, and today I have the super dope honor of I won't say interviewing, but I'm gonna say having a conversation with Jess of Green Eye. Oh, I just popped up on the
Green
screen.
eyed ambition.
Yeah, and bitch, I just popped over the screen. And I just love your page. I've been following you for a couple of months now. Some of my friends follow you, and I just think you're super amazing. And I love to have conversations with real people, right? Because it's definitely a real conversation. So the way I want to start this interview off or conversations by asking you, who is Jesse?
Jesse is really a person that loves to do things that are creative and has like a strong passion for building community. I've always done stuff to help communities, like growing up, that was always my jam. I've always loved everything about the hospitality industry growing up. Never knew it would be what it is for me today, but I'm just a person that loves to have fun. I'm down to earth. I love helping others and just learning. Like I'm a constant learner. I think that that's the best way to describe me.
That's so dope. And I can tell that vibe because, sometimes when you meet people, you speak to them from social media, especially when they got that 10K followers, we acting brand new. Once they reach 10K, it's like, no, you got to talk to my assistant. You can't just talk to me. You got to talk to my assistant. And I would say we had first of all, I actually like a question months ago, and you were so kind enough to answer it. You didn't send me to no link in no bio. You answered the question. And then when I asked to speak to you the other day, you were so graceful. And I love that because some people, when they get to a certain status, they just forget how to have customer service. So with that background of being in the hospitality industry, like, how important is customer service to you?
Oh my gosh, customer service is everything. And I think too, like with you saying about having the over 10K followers, I think that sometimes what we forget is that we're doing this to build our business.
Mm-hmm.
And when we lose that connectivity, then it's like that does much more harm to you than what we are really aware of. Like but I think there's also something for everyone to get from that kind of comment, even if you don't have 10K. Like, I think that we have to be present to the fact that people can have a perception of you and that might hinder them reaching out. Because often someone like, well, they wanted to work. I mean, I hate when people say, hey, they wanted to work with me, they'll work with me, they'll reach out. Nah, like most people don't. Like if they have you on a certain level or they have a certain esteem or respect for you, they won't always come and reach out. I'm very accessible, and most people will say what you just said, like, "Oh, I'm surprised you responded." Like, why wouldn't I? Like that's, but I think that, but I
It's the
think
truth.
because often we forget that part, and the reality is that we have to curate the communities in which we're building. So it doesn't matter if you have 2,000 followers, 4,000 followers, 10,000 followers. I mean, honestly, like I delete a lot of people on a weekly basis. I probably would have had 20,000 followers by now if I didn't consistently delete bots and stuff or
Yeah.
accounts I didn't really want me to follow. But I think that that's something that's really important for us. Like, so with hospitality, customer service is also how we make people feel. It's
Mm,
also about letting us being able to have that. I think what's super important for those of us, especially that are in the food or event industry, is that remembering that just because someone doesn't work with you today doesn't mean that they're not going to be the person that's going to send customers to you in the future.
that's
Also,
good.
it doesn't mean that they won't ever work with you. Everyone's not always going to have events going on. So if you're rude with someone today, that can definitely cut off the leg and oxygen of a potential new funnel into your business or a new leg into your business based off of how you were reacting towards that person. So it's super important for us, especially in this industry, to understand that if you make your business transactional, there will not be loyalty. So
That's
loyalty is a
good.
part of customer service that will ultimately have people coming back to you year after year, month after month. So if you don't know how to handle customers, then it's going to be tiring. Business is going to be exhausting for you.
And that's so true. And I was talking about this the other day, you and I, about when you go back to work and saying if I'm going, let's say for, because sometimes entrepreneurship, you got to get a job. I'm not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to supplement the income and you can't feel no way about it.
Mhm.
So if I'm going to go back to work, I'm going to choose a job that I need help with. So I'm not the best at customer service. I'm going to fit that's customer service based because I can take those same rules and apply
Mhm.
to any business. I love what Tyler Perry did an interview about. He said, I worked all these odd jobs, and now I see why I did it because when I worked at the hotel, I knew how to book when I did my plays. All
Mhm.
right, so going back towards your background. So what's your actual background? Because I know you did some modeling. I know you got some chef going on. So what's your let's talk about this. Let's list this resume out.
Okay, so the resume is that I actually my culinary journey started back in high school.
Mhm.
So I was in culinary programs all through my high school career. I had got accepted into Culinary Institute of America and Johnson and Wales. I was even in programs for that
Okay.
before I even went to college.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
was going down that pathway because I love cooking. I love everything about it.
Mm.
But what stopped me from going that direction was because I realized I can go anywhere to master culinary. But one of the things I felt, and this is back in 99, because I'm 41 years old. So, like back in 99, when I was graduating high school, I was clear on the fact that I wanted to go somewhere that would give me a strong business background because
Mm.
unfortunately in culinary programs, they teach you how to run other people's restaurants, but they don't teach you how to have your own business. I
That's
knew
true.
that right now I didn't want to, like right then, I didn't want to start my own business. I knew that down the road I would. So it was important to me when I was starting in my adulthood to go somewhere that had a strong like business background. So I actually turned down full rides to both CIA and Johnson
Wow.
and Wales. Um, yeah, full rides to go to Penn State University for a culinary with a business management degree with a hospitality focus. So I still
Okay.
got to learn about accounting. I got to learn about purchase orders. I learned all that type of stuff, but then I
Mm.
also learned about the basics of business. So
That's good.
that was where it took me. But even while I was in high school, I mean, in college, I worked as a florist. I love that. Like honestly, recently I was looking at a job position. There someone was like needing because I don't, y'all. I'm not going to start a floral design. I'm not, but I would love to get back into flowers. So I was like, if I can get a little part time, just do something as a creative outlet for me. That's how I
Mm.
saw it. I'm like, bet. Like if it's 10 hours a week, I'll do it just to play with flowers. So I was like, that's just how my mind works. And so I started. I went to Penn State. While I was in Penn State, I did great. I ended up graduating with like a 3.8 grade point average. And I started modeling my junior year in high school, not high school, junior year in college. And the only reason why I got into modeling was because my mom used to really always say, "You're so beautiful, you should do this." But I come from a academic background. My mom
Okay.
was a teacher. Her mom was
Mm.
a teacher. My aunts were teachers. Like, so for me, I was like, the education. I didn't care. Like, you weren't glamorized or idolized because you were pretty, because they were pretty. But they always talked about one thing. I guess too, because most of my family's from the South. They're like, one thing that someone can never take from you is your knowledge.
That's
Coming
true.
from a family where, you know, they're raised in Louisiana where there's nothing but racism. So in their day and age, it didn't matter how you looked; it was about what you knew. So I was always raised with that mindset about learning, learning, learning. Don't stop learning. I always was reading books and stuff like that. Fast forward, I went into corporate America. I worked in chemical sales, which was a great,
Yeah.
great, great opportunity because I learned about building territories.
Okay.
I learned about how to have systems. I learned about how to do sales calls and not take it personal. I had to learn about how to maintain, big portfolios. I mean, like I used to have to deal with $1 billion purchase orders. Like I had to learn how to do all that stuff. And like how you said about sometimes you have to go back into corporate America. I always say what my business is today is based off of that little job that I worked in at the
That's
floral shop,
good.
from working for an electric company, and also working and paying my way through college. Like I had to
Yeah.
learn about how to have, I mean, I was doing 18 hour, caseloads and still working a full-time job, still doing sports. So like I don't know how the hell I did it, but I'm the type of person that I would figure out a way, which makes me who I am today. So I was doing corporate America, but the reality was that I always told myself I wanted to work my way up the ladder, get to a certain level, then I will open up my restaurant because then I could do something that's my passion project. Like that was my mindset. It was like I'm about to make all this bank, be living off in some other country, working for some corporation, and then I can get back to what I love. That was
Mm.
always like my game plan in my head. It sounds good until you start doing it. I was working in corporate America for 5 years, still modeling. It was a great setup. I mean, I was making over six figures before 30 years old.
Wow, dope.
Yeah, between both of those incomes. So I had the money, but I wasn't happy.
Mm.
I legit had a lady that I used to work with that had this song that she used to teach. I mean, sing all the time. That was her I Love Coming to Work song, which was really a satire to how much she hated coming to work. And could you imagine you have someone singing about how much they hate coming to work every day? And it was like, I'm not even 30 years old. For me to retire, I still have like another 20 years. And I was just like, I
Yeah.
couldn't even think to myself, like, how can I even get through this? And at that point, I was reading this book by Christopher Gardner, and it's called
Okay.
Starting Where You Are. Yeah, Starting Where You Are. And it's a really great book. Christopher Gardner is the gentleman that the movie The Pursuit of Happiness is
Mm.
about. And I was reading this book, and at my very last end of year analysis where you sit in with your boss and they talk to you about what's going on. And my boss just like, Jesse, I can tell you're not motivated right now. She's like, she's like, I see like something's wrong. I'm like, it's like, please take no disrespect to this. I'm like, she's like, what can we do? She asked, what can we do to help get you motivated again? And I was like, please take no disrespect to this. I'm like, but honestly, the only thing that's keeping me motivated is that I'm getting paid every week, every 2 weeks. I was like, as long as you keep paying me, I'm going to be here. But here's the thing, even with me not playing full out, I still was
Mm.
doing more than what the average person was doing at my job.
That
And
part. And I think that's the part. The reality is people know our best, even though it's just like you have people who are mediocre around you all the time. And people
mm-hmm.
see that part and it's just like, don't come for me. Go with these other people who ain't doing like, not even a tenth of what I'm doing. Like, fam, get out of here. So I definitely agree with you with that part.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. And so when I did that, at that point, I was engaged to someone. I went and lived in Japan for a little bit with this person, but I left on good terms with the company. I
Okay.
actually trained somebody, and tried to help them a little bit. That relationship actually did not work, which is a blessing because we broke up and I came back to the United States 2 weeks before the tsunami hit
Oh wow.
Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
one of my really good friends at that point, he's like, Jesse, I know you hurt right now, but I'm glad you're not over there because that would have hurt us knowing that you would have, passed away, from the
Mm,
tsunami. So
mm,
it all worked out. When I came back, I was just in a place where I was like, you know what? I just want to do something that's going to make me happy. I was just
mhm.
like, I want to do something that's going to fill me up, that's going to bring me joy. And once that happened, I found out about an organization called Dress for Success.
Oh
And
wow, yeah, I love them. That's
yeah,
cool.
they're a really great organization. And I had this idea. I was with a direct sales company. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go around and do some ladies' nights events because I had connections because I worked for QVC for about 10 years doing on air modeling. I mean, I was in Essence magazine. I had a lot of really great accomplishments
Mm,
within doing plus size modeling. So I had resources that I can reach from. So I started out with doing these ladies' nights events, and someone was like, "Well, I think you can do this at apartments," and I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" Had no clue. My goal was to do like not 10 events, 5 events. I
mhm.
did those 5 events, and what happened was that people then were like, what else can you do? What else can you do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, let me figure this out. Reach out to some more resources and like, okay. So like I think sometimes it's about having things we can get so wrapped up on getting started, like having things perfect to get started.
That's true.
You can just be figuring it out. But here's the thing, don't use that as a crutch. You've been doing it for 2 years and you still haven't gotten legal. Come on. Like it's time to get that LLC. Like it's time to invest in getting legal. But in my first couple of months, I was just having fun. I was doing things that made me happy. Like
Yeah.
it didn't always work out the way I wanted it to work out. But what happened was that this was in about I started pursuing this in January of 2010, and then what happened was that in by September of 20 I'm sorry, January 2011, by September 2011 I was booked 3 months out
Wow.
within my niche.
That
And
part. That part.
I didn't even have a company name. It wasn't even starting to be a company by no means. And it wasn't until one of my customers were like, "Hey, Jesse, this is such a great event. Da da da. You should do this for next month." And I'm like, "I don't think I have room for next month." And then once we went through, I went to my calendar and he looked at me. He's like, "Jesse, I think it's time for you to get a company name." And I was like,
Yeah.
"You serious? You think?" Like I never envisioned, that it would turn into what it is. And here we are, 2022. From 2011, I've had a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, like I tell people, like my whole journey has been a God and faith journey. Like nothing about my story is something um that can the only way it can be duplicated is if you're going to do the work and go through your own walk with
Mm.
God. Like
That's good.
like it's something that I think sometimes, and it takes work, and that's the trust to be able to get those levels. I remember like my third event that I did, I flew all the way from DC to Houston for this event. Didn't know it was like Texas Livestock and Rodeo Show. If you know anyone that's in Texas, like that's major. Like you get off the plane and it smells like ribs everywhere. Like this, like I'm like, why
That's
does
so
the air
true.
smell like barbecue? What is going on? Um, and so when I did this event, only one person showed up. And at that moment, I was like in this space where I just said to myself, like, I'm not going to see when something doesn't go my way as it
Mm.
being that it's a failure.
That's
I'm
good.
like, how God, and it's funny. So my old boss, she just logged on. That's how cool we still stayed. So even though I left, like we're still cool. Um, but the thing about it was that at that moment I said to myself, like, even if a door closes, it doesn't mean that it's not blessed. So
That's
that
good.
one person that was there, me and her sat and talked for an hour and a half. And she's like, I know you wanted to have more people here, but it was so good to just talk to someone and be in their world. She's like, we're so busy going that I haven't had this type of great conversation and sat with somebody new in a long time. And I got in my car, sat, and I prayed. And I knew at that moment, I was like, God, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what direction you're leading me in, but I'm going to trust that there is something, like the way I feel.
Mm.
I'm trusting that there's something ahead for me in this, and I'm just going to be obedient and follow. So even in the messy parts, I've had to go and just believe that it was going to work out.
I love that on so many different levels. You definitely gave a super dope. So many gems, so many gems. But what you just said that was so dope to me was that even though it was one person there, it was like worth it. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes too, we're so busy with volume versus quality, and
Mhm.
quality will always be better over quantity at the end of the day,
Mhm.
especially when you love what you do. And the other
Yeah.
part that was really dope. So I'm a creative, as you are too. So we have to be happy doing work. If we're
Yes.
not happy in a work environment, fam, just best believe that we're working on our next strategy and we're
Yeah.
about to flip the whole strip. And I think that's so dope because, as a creative, you're able to really, really explore your different giftings. And when you start to feel stifled, it's very, very hard to work. It's very
Yes.
hard to work. It's very hard to be productive. You also said something a little while ago about the job that you did a lot of organizational and systems. So I feel like you're the organizational and system queen, right? I just really see that. It's always a system in place. So, what does organization and having system in place look like to you? Like, if you can describe that in your daily routine, how does organization having those systems for entrepreneurship and life? What does that look like to you, and what does it mean to you?
Oh, it means everything to me because if I don't have order, then I'm going to be anxious and then not do anything.
Mm,
Like, the thing is that we have to remember, and like, I think the biggest part to organization is understanding how to catch yourself on your own BS. Like,
that's
you can
good.
have the whole day to clean your apartment. We're not even talking about business. You have the whole day to clean up your apartment or your house. But because we don't have any actual game plan on it, do we wake up and just get it done? No, we wait till the end of the day. Something that don't take us long. Like that's how our brain works. Unfortunately, is that it over exaggerates what is
Mm,
necessary. So organization for me is so that I catch myself on my own BS.
mm,
It helps me of understanding what am I using my time for, and also what are the things that are important to me outside of work. Like I don't
mm,
want to work all the time. Like I want it to be that the time I'm allocating to my work, that I'm getting the things I need to get done. And then I want
mm,
to be able to also be present to there's plenty of time in a day. It's just,
mm.
am I
That's
using
true.
that time on the things that are going to move the scale? Am I using the time to do things that are going to produce income? Are those the things that are going to just make me look like I'm busy? Or are
That
they
part.
going to be things that are going to get my business to grow? Because all of that is what is the key to having organization. So when I wake up in the morning, I already know what's going to be on my schedule. Like I know what time I need to be certain places. I know what I'm going to be focusing on because if I don't, what will get done? I know Jesse. Jesse won't do nothing. Like I'll do a whole bunch of random nothings. Then all of a sudden it's 6 p.m. and I'd be like, "Woo, today was a long day." And then
A long
tomorrow,
day of nothing.
then you know where here's the gag of it. Then the next day, that's when I feel the pain of the things I didn't do yesterday. And you'd be like, how did none of, like, why is nothing getting done? Because you didn't do anything yesterday. Okay. Like
That part.
sometimes you have to make that decision. Like I am okay not doing certain things. But if you're not taking control and ownership in that, then that's where the mistakes occur. So I'm a time blocker. That's probably how I did school and all the things I did in my life, like, and I think that's what prepared me. Like, if I didn't have that season where I had to grind it out in college for those 4 years, I do not
Yeah.
know how I played volleyball. I do not know how I had a full-time job. I don't know how I did a 15, 18-hour work week and had work study. I don't know how I did all that. But the only
And the
way,
crazy part about it is the value of what you was working for was like pennies to now that
yes,
you have your time, man. It's like, man, I used to work that hard for like, especially me, I was like 7.15 an hour. I'm like, I worked
yeah,
that hard for 7.15 an hour, and now it's
yeah,
like you can't even get me to move for a certain amount. You got
yeah.
what I'm saying? So that's very, very interesting. That's very, very dope about that part.
But here's the thing is that I learned we've learned those things when while we're working for other people. I think that if someone never took the time to actually learn that, like if we were subpar employees, for some reason I think that there is this belief that I'll become this amazing business owner. Like, yeah, with coaching, therapy, and personal development, yes, you can
Yeah.
become that person. You know, I'm not saying it's never a possibility, but if you couldn't do those things before there was money attached, I think that the vanity of being an entrepreneur is so overly stimulated online
Yeah.
that we don't realize that even when I don't feel like it, I got to come in. Even when I don't feel like dealing with someone complaining about something, I still have to be nice and pleasant. Like,
Yeah.
if we don't learn those things beforehand, it's like, how can you? It's going to be a very interesting learning curve to be
Yeah.
doing it as an entrepreneur. So, like, a
Yeah.
lot of the organization skills that I had to learn before working, and it's gotten better over the years. So, like, I have to make time for reading. I have to make time for family. I have to take time for me. Like, people ask, like,
Mm.
why do you wake up at 5 a.m.? Because I give so much to other people throughout my day. If I don't give myself the first 3 to 4 hours in a day,
So
I can't do for anyone else. I
that's
can't.
so good. You
So I
dropping
start
gems
my
out
day
here,
with
fam.
me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send you a cash app love offer because you are dropping gems right here. You know you are, but I think because that's the, we put ourselves at the end all the time when we should always be the first.
Hmm.
How can you give from an empty cup? And so now we talked about the whole situation with working from home versus a co-working space. So as you guys see, her background is a part of her co-working space. And as entrepreneurs, when COVID happened, everybody was working from home, excited. I know I was, but I realized that I was not logging into to teaching. I was taking extra long naps. I would turn my screen off just like the kids, and I end up being on my bed. Then once my supervisor came into the room, and I'm like, oh wait, let me get up. So, what home co-working space versus home? What is your take on that?
It's necessary. I haven't just worked at home. I don't even know how long. Like, I haven't for a very long time. Even when I couldn't afford to have a co-working space, I was going to the library. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
had to get out the house because I don't do well with just working in the house. I just don't. Like, a lot of my friends would, and I always had home offices. So I would sometimes work from home, but when I knew I needed to focus, I had to get out the house because I
Mm,
don't like to be out the house for long periods of time. So I knew that if I mean, like, unless I'm having fun. So, like, if I knew I was going into my co-work space for 6 hours or 7 hours, I
mm,
did that. But the amount of work I get done in 7 hours at my co-work space, it don't even compare to what I would do 18 hours at home. It only like 18 hours at home. That's probably a couple of Netflix shows, maybe a
yes,
nap,
yes.
me sitting outside because I need to have a break because I'm stuck in the
It's
walls. Like,
it's
I
it's so
will be
many
doing
breaks.
everything, like all the things that don't do anything. So even if you aren't in the space to be able to afford a co-work space, go to your library. I used to go to Panera. Like, sometimes I go to Panera when I don't feel like driving downtown, so that you can get somewhere that is going to, you feel like you're going somewhere. So you get
Yeah.
dressed, even if you're going to work from home, treat it like you're going into work. Like, get dressed, get your
Mm,
day started, making sure that you're not taking personal calls. Like, my friends and family, they don't call me during the day.
Oh yeah.
unless it's important. You and
Mm.
like
Yeah, and I
you're
keep
not.
my phone on silent for that reason. Yeah, I definitely keep my phone silent all the time. So when people like you
Yeah.
never pick up your phone, no, if I have that sound, I'm gonna be like, wait, what's this? Oh wait, hold on, let me check my phone.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to got another phone just for that with nothing on it. Just so
Well,
I can focus on that part.
Well, the thing is, my cell phones are all on silent and no vibrate. I don't have on any like I. It goes on to do not disturb after 7 p.m. It don't kick back on until 8 a.m. Like I have boundaries. Like I think that's something that's important in entrepreneurship, and even that's how it ties into the co-work spaces. It creates boundaries. Like
Mm,
once I finished, yeah, I'm in here today. I knew that we're going to be recording. I'm going to be recording some of my YouTube videos. I'm going to be scheduling out my social media stuff. And then I'm going to lock up my stuff and go home. I'm not going to be trying to think about no work. I might do a little Insta story, whatever, but it's all about boundaries. I'm not going to pull out my laptop. Like, I really don't have the capacity. I don't want to. I, and I think some of this came because I don't know if you know, but so my mom, she was terminally ill back in
mm,
2018. So when I was her caregiver until she passed away, like I remember you become present to the time you have and the time you
that's
have
good.
for those that you care about. I don't want it to be that, yes, people can understand your grind. I get that. But I didn't want it to be that family stopped calling me or reaching out to me because she's always busy. She's always working. When she's with me, she's always working. Like, I
Yeah.
want it to be that when people know you got my attention, you got my attention. You want to sit down and talk? Okay, great. We're going to sit down and talk. Like, I want to be present in those moments. And when
Mm,
my mom got sick, I had to become present to the fact when I was working, I was working. When I wasn't working, I was not working. And I had to be knowing that whatever time I said I was going to do something, you either getting it done at that time
mm.
or you're not doing anything at all. So I think that those things are really important with co-work spaces. It creates those boundaries that are going to be helpful for your personal life. I mean, we don't
That's
want to
dope.
be all successful and busted and disgusted in our personal life.
Yeah, and I think too is people always say it's lonely at the top. No, it's lonely because you can set up the right stuff to make it not lonely. I don't
Mm-hmm.
agree with that because even too, as you start building partnerships, you start finding friends that's growing with you. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be lonely. And one of my friends, she says all the time, I'm like, and she's a ride, but I'm like, you chose to be alone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But going to this part too about coaching, so I love aha moments. Those moments, it's like, wow, like this is it. So, what was that aha moment as relates to you becoming a coach? Like transitioning from taking all this knowledge and now I'm going to be the guru or the coach of this area.
Yo, this like honestly was never anything that I intended to do. Like, and that's again where it comes down to how I viewed myself because I'm very much a laid back, behind the scenes kind of person. And the way that I viewed the coaching world, I didn't want to be attached to it. So that immediately
Mm,
made me not want to even enter into it. So I'm like, I'm not that girl. Like, I don't have that energy because I still, like some people don't know, I still have my own event planning business. In the
mm,
pandemic, I wasn't doing any events, so I had the time and the space. That's why I say, even even though I lost a ton of money during the pandemic with my business, a ton of money. Like y'all don't even want to. Some people y'all get upset when you lose $1,000. Y'all don't even want to know how much
the thousands and start coming up. It's like, wow.
hundreds of thousands. Yes. So you're losing a lot of money. But here's the thing is that I would have never created the space to coach because
Good.
honestly, I just thought everybody else had it together. I don't know why. I was
When these
like,
phone
like,
calls, you're like, wow, this is how you really think.
yeah, like
This
I'm
is
like, oh
this is
yeah,
your
teams
life.
and you need organization. Like, hold on, what? You don't do like what? And I didn't know that there was a need. But here's the thing with me being an event coordinator, I've been helping and mentoring the people that I was working with because we rise together. So
Yeah, that's good.
like what I was already doing for them was what I could have been helping to support other people with their process and their journey. So my aha moment was really when one of my actual vendors that I work with, who's a private chef, she's like, Jesse, have you ever thought about, she's like, you're always helping us. Have you ever thought about coaching? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, me?
I love these. What are you talking about? I love that. I love that. That's so dope. I love that so dope.
And it took talking to them and then talking to my own business coach. And my own business coach was like, Jesse, you are extremely knowledgeable. And I think that's the part that we all, how would I say this? As you are growing, at some point or at almost every milestone, you're going to have a level of imposter syndrome. Like, this is why it's important to do personal development. This is important why you're always having the support around you that's going to challenge your thoughts to see if what I am doing and if how I'm existing right now, is that going to help me get to the next level? What's blocking me to get that breakthrough, so that this isn't, I'm not existing in the small way of thinking, but I'm actually stepping into who I am actually. Because all the experiences we have in our life, as much as we want to think that they're pushing us, honestly, a lot of times they're holding us back, because we created these narratives in our mind about who we can be deep down and who we actually can be if we let go of those barriers. So like my business coach, he was like, Jesse, what are you talking about? You know a lot of stuff. He's like, you're hella knowledgeable. And I'm like, really? And I had to deal with that with him on my imposter syndrome. He's like, you know more than some of the people that come and work with me. And I was like, what? And that's
because it's so normal to you. And I think that's the problem. Like, and I've had the issue for a long time, because you're so used to being you that you don't realize how other people view you. And I think that the hardest job as a coach is to help somebody renew their mind to see who they are. Because if I can help you see who you are, I can't unsee what I've seen. So if I can help you see who you are, it's a whole different mindset of how you start to replicate yourself. I love that imposters. I got to use that. The imposters. That's good. You talking good, fam.
I mean, but that's what even like the co-work people here, they're like, yo, every time I sit down with you, I feel like I need to have notes. But then here I'm sitting here saying, oh man, I don't have any value of myself. Like, this is the crazy thing about, I was talking to, I forget, someone recently, and I was like, yo, if I actually was unleashed and stepped into who I actually can be, I'm like, the limits of my life would be limitless. But because I have these barriers, I am going to get there, but not as fast as if I was just to click the switch on and realize that all that I tell myself isn't true. And like,
that's good.
With entrepreneurship, it's not knowing stuff. It's not knowing what you're telling yourself, how your beliefs, like all of that plays a major part. Because something as simple, like a couple of years ago, one of my business coach we had to work on was the fact that I was telling myself, because I look a certain way, not just because I'm Black, but usually I have a buzz cut of me. Heck, I got a design shade in my hair right now. Like, I'm very non-suit. I have 3 suit jackets. That's it. I don't wear all Black. Like, I'm not conservative in my dressing. Not really. Not at all. And so I used to tell myself, because I don't look a certain way, that I won't be taken seriously when I go into offices and buildings. Like, I didn't feel like, and he's like, who told you that? Well, he's like, no, but who told you that? Yeah. It was me telling myself that. Some of it's based off of what I see out in the world, but also some of the stuff, hey Jada, some of the stuff that I see is just based off of my thoughts to prevent myself from stepping into rooms. Like, a lot of the guys here, they wear branded t-shirts and khaki pants. They're not thinking, because I don't have a suit on, that my clients aren't going to take them seriously.
Yeah.
But I think that way of myself. So it's all about our thoughts that really impacts us, you know. So I think this is where for everyone it's really important that you are consistently working on yourself, is being aware
Mm,
of like how you're showing up, being aware of the things that you're not saying to yourself. And
yeah.
it's not until you start doing the work that you realize like you can become aware, oh, that's my small way of thinking. Because something happened to me. I was raised in a domestic violence household when I was in it. There was a situation when I was 5 years old, and I tried to separate my father from, well, I mean, he was beating his girlfriend and like
Mm,
he beat her unconscious. I was
wow.
trying, yeah, so I experienced certain things. So at that moment when he was trying to, like, he was beating on her, I was trying to stop him. I was trying at 5 years old, you know, trying to stop him. And at that moment, I told myself, unknowingly, unconsciously, I don't make a difference.
Mm,
I can't make a difference. I don't matter. I'm aware as 41 years old, that's not true.
yeah.
But that still plays a part on how I show up in the world. That's
Mm,
why I can only do enough and make a difference, because I can do well at enough. But if I
mm.
go full out, my brain, my mind, my way of being is I don't make a difference. It doesn't matter anyway. So I do it.
This gym dropping situation got to stop, okay? Because let's go, okay. Because I'm trying to, my friend always takes notes when we doing these podcasts, and but now I see why I gotta go back to that. Got to go back to that. So going back to what you said about branding part, I think that's so cool about with the guys because people like you because of who you are. And I think
Yes.
so oftentimes we put this imagery of what we should look like. Like with my seasonings and my salad dressings, I would never put my face on my products.
Hmm.
And then someone's like, but they don't know who you are by your logo. you know, People know McDonald's over Ray Kroc. But in this day and age, people have to know the Ray Kroc and not the McDonald's, because they will naturally buy into you because of who you are. So even too, like I started my face on everything, and then I went overboard. Now I got Chef J hats. I only wear my own shirts for my apparel because I am the brand.
Yeah.
And I think once you start psyching yourself up, because you got to have those pep talks.
Yeah.
That's why faith confessions and manifestation is so important,
Hmm.
because you got to start to speak what you want to see, speak who you
Yes.
are, and you
Yes.
have to learn how to self-validate yourself. Don't let anyone else validate you before you validate yourself. That's
Yes.
just not going to happen. And then even too, talking about the imagery of as when you were a kid, and I look at stuff like that where there are a lot of things of issues of parents that never belong to us. But we take
Yes.
on those issues because what we see, and it's just like go back to who told you that this was who you are? Who told you that you're not valuable? Who told you that your opinion doesn't matter? And it's stuff
Hmm.
that you see that was never messaged towards you. So a lot of
Hmm.
times, as a coach, we have to really work with people with unlearning.
Yes.
Because before I can teach you new stuff, I have to help you unlearn. Because you're
Yes.
coming to me when people treated your life like a garbage can and they dumped on you. And so now
Yeah.
we got to clean that whole space, sanitize,
Hmm.
and get a fresh, clean surface to start working. It's like going to a kitchen where it's not clean and you try to make a whole meal. No, we got to sanitize the whole place and start over again and clean those thoughts and really scrub it out your mind till you start knowing who you are. And so
100%.
you good right here. Like I'm like, this is a whole good. We got a few more questions. We're gonna wrap up. So I'm a new client to you, right? And I'm gonna
Hmm.
ask you, what are the 3 to 5 words that describe your coaching program? 3 to 5.
3 to 5 words. I would say essential, because you need to be organized. Not you,
Mm,
like essential. Also attainable, because I feel that being organized and creating structure, it becomes one of those things like I just don't even know where to start. So I
mm,
think that that's something that people often would go about it. And then I would say compassion, because I have
mm.
compassion for people in this, especially for in our industry, because we're not often talked about the business side and entrepreneur side.
That's
So
good.
I think that for them, I'm always very empathetic to the learning curve, because if someone's only really worked in the kitchen their whole career, getting into the computer side of it it can be very intimidating to them.
Yeah,
So I do like for them to know that, because it's essential to have something that's going to be a legacy. Because if
that's good.
you're not creating a structure in your business, it means you're always going to have to be working it, always, because it's going to
Mm,
be so reliable on you, or reliable on you, compared to you building something that you can eventually hire people to do what you do and you just make the money. So I think that
that
those are
part,
three words.
that part, that's so true. And I think so oftentimes we become a robot to our business, and it's like I could have stayed at my job for that.
Hmm.
Really, because I'm making less money by being a robot to my business, and I'm not enjoying. At least I get PTO, and paid time off. And it's
Yeah.
like as an entrepreneur, you have to set boundaries, you have to set standards, you have
Mhm.
to set things into play. And I think that's so dope. And wrapping up with one our last question, no, two more questions.
Okay.
Mental health. You had a really dope story post, and I thought one, I love your transparency, right, fam? Like if you're looking for, I'm gonna start calling it a transparency coach, because if you're looking for someone who's gonna be transparent, watch the stories. Because I think too, it's oftentimes in industry with coaches, because some coaches are rah rah rah, do this, do this, do this, but then when you get to know them, like you're not even doing this. And I
Hmm.
think the part about it too is you're really doing the work where you show your followers like, hey, no, mental health is important, so I'm doing X, Y, and Z. So talking about mental health, how do you protect your peace, and what do you do to keep your mental health a priority?
So for me, is I think one of the keys is like how I said when I first start my day at 5 o'clock. Like I
Mm,
read, I do scripture. Like I am very present to my energies that are out there. So
mm,
if I feel that I'm stressed or anything like that, I take breaks. I sit outside. I get do grounding for myself. I am a big fan of therapy. I've had to go through therapy and personal development. One of my favorite personal development seminars that I've taken is called Landmark Forum, and it's
mm.
Landmark
My friend
Forum.
talks about all the time. She loves Landmark.
It's life changing. It's so life changing. If anyone do it, don't matter
I'm
the
writing it down right
cost.
now. I'm doing it right now because
Do
that's the
it.
second time I heard about it.
Yes, you
Uh,
must do it. Every person I've ever had go to Landmark Farm, they call me and they're crying because they're grateful, because there's so much freedom when we can get those breakthroughs, and understand like what you're really wanting. So like for me, I was always doing reading and personal development, but the thing about it was I wasn't aware to the barriers that were there, because all I was doing was reading around what was actually blocking me. Like it
mm,
wasn't until doing that that I realized, oh, when you were 5 years old, this is what you told yourself. Like that's why you don't play full out. That's why you're always that girl that naturally just did enough and people praised you, but you didn't really care about the praise. Like all those things that starts to make
yeah.
sense. Before I hated my dad. So I'm in a space where me and him are cool. I've gave that piece, and now I'm working through how do I show up from that girl that was 5 years old compared
Mm.
to that girl that was 5 years old that experienced this and still blocking it with what I wanted in my life. So,
Whew,
um,
you good, girl. You out here. You out here. Listen, you out here. Book a session. Book the session, fam. Book the session.
Landmark
But
Forum is the bomb, though. It's so powerful. Like I've actually had my therapy session, my first going back to therapy on Thursday, because again, like when you're, and I think sometimes with people they don't realize, like I really do have full schedules. Like as much as I show up powerfully on Green Night Ambition, I have a team of 20 something people that I'm supporting with my
mm,
actual event business and
mm,
my clients that need stuff. So my days can be stretched pretty thin. I just have to allocate. That's why organization matters. But because I have all these people that I'm supporting in some kind of capacity, I have to have the skills and the tools so that I can step up as a leader for them, but also making sure that I'm whole and complete. So this is why mental health is important, because I cannot give from where I don't have. So I like to share with people on the days I feel like I don't feel like doing anything, because I think that there can be this temptation of thinking like every day is perfect. Nah, like some days I don't. And honestly, some days I just make the choice not to. Like, but that's where
I
the
love that.
growth in where I'm at is that if I don't want to do anything that day, or if I don't want to say yes to an assignment, or if I don't want to align with a specific brand, I don't have to, because I've done enough work on myself to realize that it's not necessary.
That's so good. All right, last question because that was so good. All right, yeah, I got it. I watch my lives over again because there's certain things you get. Even when I'm listening to myself, I'm like, wow, I said that. Wow, that was
Mhm.
good. So what advice would you give your younger self? And we kind of hinted around some stuff, but like, what's the advice you would give your younger self?
You can change the world.
So,
When my
so,
one aunt, she calls me her little world changer. Like she always, that's how she has me on her phone. That's how she references me. She's like, "You can change the world. I want you to know that you can change the world." And the younger version of myself, I would tell her, "Don't think that you can't."
mm, that's so impactful. That's so dope. Oh, that's so dope. And I think that's just the greatest part about it because I love that it took your aunt saw that. Sometimes we don't see stuff in ourselves,
Hmm.
And I think too is like one of my aunts said she was like a teacher, became my aunt, and she said, you know what, Josh, you were meant to be hidden for a season, but in that hidden season, you were designed to figure things out. So when the light shines on you, everything you've been working on, all the validation you start feeling about yourself, everything starts to make sense. But
Yep.
you don't always see it when people say things about you like, "Oh, you're dope, you're this." I'm like, "I'm just me." But once you start building that confidence, you're really able to really pour out at a greater level because one, it's your gift. So what you're
Yes.
giving me right now is your gift, right? And
Hmm.
because I appreciate that, I'm going to respect it and edify your gift. And I think sometimes we're in a lot of places where people don't edify that gift. And because it's not edified, sometimes it could be abusive. So
Hmm.
I like people in my circle. I want to edify them because I want to show you, even if you don't see it, be the friend that shows the value to those people in your life. No, like, Jesse, I value this conversation because you just never know who needed to hear. I needed to hear some of this stuff. You get what I'm saying? So I
Hmm.
thank you so much. So how can people find you? How can they sign up for that coaching program? Because you have I saw all the programs you offer. It's so dope. Honestly, you're really making me, and this is why I love networking. You're making me go back to the beginning and okay, Jay, you need to add some of this in there, add some of that in there, but stay true to yourself. So, how can
Yeah.
they find you? How can they work with you? Because y'all need to. Okay, what's the vibe?
Yeah, so the way that you can reach out to me is on Instagram as well as Facebook. I kept everything cohesive on all of the platforms. So it's Green Eyed Ambition. So even the website is greeneyedanbition.com. I have group coaching programs, but I also do have honeybook services. So for those of you that are still doing manual processes and PayPal invoices and things of that nature. Like we need to get up into modern days. So if you do need your HoneyBook set up, I do that as well. So you can reach out to me on any of the platforms at Green Dyed Ambition, and that's how you get in contact with me.
Fam, click the link, type the website in because you won't be disappointed. Make sure you follow her, connect with her in any kind of form of fashion because it's in a season where it's time to win, and you can't be afraid to ask for help. You can't be.
Yeah.
Asking for help will be the difference between you making it and you not making it because success loves speed. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're slow because we don't ask. So thank you
100%.
so much, fam. Like I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate you. And so live guys, family, have a great week on purpose. Enjoy the rest of your week. And just be out here, fam. We listen, connect with us. Connect with us. All right. Have a good day, guys. This